I'm Charles R. Bryant. I was born on Macon Bay Hill, just east of North J Village, in the granite quarry. My grandfather, Charles H. Bryant, a quarryman and engineer, operated the Bryant Brothers Company for several years. In 1894, he and his brother Elmer and Herman Sanborn purchased a granite quarry in North J. Sanborn's interest was sold to a Mr. Milford Sanders, and he and my grandfather bought Elmer Bryant's share. This is what they called the American Quarry, and it was on the hill facing Macon Bay Hill. They shipped over 100,000 paving blocks and 7,000 cubic feet of dimension work for building purposes. In 1901, they sold the business to Senator Clark from Montana, who operated for the stone for his New York mansion. My grandfather was foreman for Senator Clark, and when the quarry was sold to the Maine and New Hampshire Granite Company, he became foreman for them. When Maine and New Hampshire Granite Company took over, they moved the main quarry a few hundred feet west towards the North J Village side of the hill. Prior to Maine and New Hampshire Granite Company, there were other little quarries operated by one and two individuals. My father showed me some of the small quarries. When my father helped my grandfather, it was his job after heavy rains to get the water out of the hole while they were quarrying. This was before the days of small gas engines and pumps. He would put a large pipe in the hole, and at the top would connect it to another long pipe going down the hill. Then he would plug the downhill in and fill the pipe with water and remove the plug. This would siphon the water out of the hole. My father, as a teenager, worked for the Maine and New Hampshire Granite Company. They had a blacksmith shop where they sharpened the tools for the cutters. It was his job to carry the tools back and forth from the blacksmith shop to them. Most of the cutters were Italians. I think they taught my father every profane word in the Italian language. To the day he died, at the age of 83, he could still repeat every one of them. When the Maine and New Hampshire Granite Company moved the quarrying hole, the American quarry hole filled with water. My father had a farm next to his Uncle Elmer's farm on Macon Bay Hill. In the winter, they would cut ice for their ice houses. My grandfather would help them. One day they cut a load of ice and loaded it and took it to one of the ice houses. Elmer stayed behind to cut another load. When they returned, they did not see Elmer anywhere, but saw his cap floating on top of the water. They pulled Elmer out, but could not revive him. In the summertime, this became the swimming hole for the Macon Bay Hill and North J Village kids. I asked my grandfather if they quarried in the wintertime. He said yes, but it was not very profitable. The granite would be frozen, and you couldn't always tell which way it was going to split. There was a lot of water, there was a lot of waste, and you just about earned wages. In the 1930s, I used to go to the quarry while my grandfather was working. At this time, he's operating the derrick while they were quarrying. He would load the granite on a rail car and let it gravity-wise down to the point where they load it on another car and send it down to the stone cutting shed by the railroad station. From here, I'll let Phil take over.
Well, I might add that quarry that the Clark Mansion was from, the general contractor was Judge A. Fuller Company back in just before the 1900s. I sold a lot of services of granite to the Judge A. Fuller Company, and the purchasing agent that I dealt with became a very good friend of mine. He was a lot older than I was, but his name was Charlie Sullivan. He was Ed Sullivan's brother, and I never did get any tickets to the show, but we made out pretty well, and this Clark Mansion went on for